I didn't have a big problem with the gag order, right, during the trial. It seemed narrowly enough targeted based on Trump's own behavior. But now that it's over, what is the argument for keeping it? Joining me now, John E. Jones III. He's the former chief judge for the U.S. Middle District of Pennsylvania, who followed the case closely. He's currently the president of Dickinson College. Thanks so much for being on the program. Appreciate it. All right, what is the argument for keeping it in place?
Well, Dan, I think you can't keep it in place. And first of all, it's good to be with you, but you can't keep it in place in total, in my view. I think the threats to witnesses falls away. That's superfluous at this point, and it's not necessary. I do think the judge has to be more circumspect, though, about parts B and C in the order, B being the area that bars Trump from talking about the families of different court officers, the judge, and so forth. And C, you're quite right about the jury, that he can be barred from releasing personal information. I think criticizing the jury verdict generally is all right, but I think you need to be careful that that you draw a bright line, that he can't encourage doxing or other threats against the jury.
But when does that end? I mean, is this indefinite?
Well, no, that's a good question, and I think it has to end. It can't be indefinite, of course.
Right.
But I think, you know, the tension, Dan, is, as you know, between the First Amendment and the administration of justice. And I think we're in a climate right now that is very dangerous and very fraught for people who work in the legal system, quite honestly, and people give their time like juries. So, you know, I think that tension can be resolved. Look, I mean, I don't think the former president can say with a straight face that you know, he doesn't want a ban on criticizing officers of the court, family members, other than Alvin Bragg, of course, and the judge himself. You know, there has to be some finding of facts. Understand, I don't think the judge can just maintain the status quo, and I think he has to make some findings. But I'd say, to your question, at least through the sentencing. I think that only makes sense to me.
I don't know. I don't get how, now that the trial is over, how extending the gag order from now until the sentencing, where, for example, he's not allowed to say things about, you know, jurors generally. He's not allowed to criticize even family members. Look, I've been very critical of Trump for the comments he's been making about family members. I do think it's a big deal. I do think it's wrong. I also think it's his First Amendment right to do it, even if it's misleading, et cetera. And I don't see how you can just keep these gag orders in place even until the sentencing. What, and then what? And then magically all the issues go away and Trump can suddenly start talking about it?
Well, I think you and I are on the same page about the jurors. I think we're coming at it from a different direction. But I agree that if he wants to criticize the jury's verdict and how the jury deliberated and so forth, he can do it. My prohibition, and maybe this is elsewhere in the rules, would be on disclosing the identities of jurors.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's got to be an easy way to deal with that, right? Which is a prohibition, period. Not allowed to do it.
So now we're down to B. And look, Dan, if there never had been a gag order, I think I would side with you and I'd say, you know, you can't create one out of whole cloth afterwards. The fact of the matter is, though, and I fall on the side of security here. I think, you know, there is every reason to believe that some people could be at risk, and I would err on the side of safety for that period between now and the sentencing. I think it falls away after that. You know, I moved to say that your father would be probably a better expert about the First Amendment, its effect on gag orders than this former district judge. But I think, what's the harm, Dan, in extending it to the point of sentencing? You know, it's a month away.
You could make the same argument about extending it for a year after the sentencing. You could say, come on, what's the harm? Come on, we got to, through the appellate process, right? Let's just keep it in place through the appellate process, right? What's the harm?
So you lift it, Dan, and there's open threats against you know, the judge's daughter, and somebody does the judge's daughter harm, and then you know, clearly you've made a mistake, or there's some revelation about her personal information, you know, something. You know, I frankly, you know, don't see the harm. Norm, I understand your point.
Yeah.
From a pure First Amendment standpoint, you know that the First Amendment typically predominates. I get it. I mean,
This is not an easy question, Judge. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.